Are we live?
There we are.
Okay, there we go. So,
And we're live.
for those of you watching me silently type on my keyboard in an earlier stream, we had some technical difficulties here. Hangouts has been moving around on us, and it's a target that was hard to find. So,
Target?
Yeah, target.
Speaking of that, do you need to do another tweet so if those people that were trying to find us actually want to know where we are?
Already out.
Oh, did you do that?
I am
See,
on
I
top
wasn't
of
paying
it.
Attention. I'm sorry. I'm so lost.
Also, guys, if you're wondering why there's a little bit of confusion, all my kit was packed up this week. I had a big shoot in Omaha, Nebraska, so I flew back, had all my gear put away, lenses put away, and unfortunately, I used some of those lenses for this cast, so I had to go dig them out of bags and do a number of other things. Also, the EZ Cam, the lovely camera that I still have for some reason, decided not to work for a little while. Had to reboot it a couple times and then log into it with my phone, which is awesome. Thanks for creating such a wonderful product. Zcam, you guys are the best. Good job.
Nice.
All right, you ready to go on with the show? Start the show.
Sure. Well, yeah. You want to know what I've been doing this week?
Well, we haven't even started the show yet. Do you want to talk about it on the show?
Oh, no. Well, okay, yeah, I'm sorry.
Start
the show. What the hell?
All right, in 5, 4, 3, 2. Hello and welcome back to another exciting episode of DSLR Fun You Podcast. Full of technical difficulties, lots of problems trying to figure out the new live stream situation that Google is taking Hangouts away from us, which that lovely tool that always works the best for us. I mean, it's awful, but it's not nearly as awful as Skype. So I guess in a way, we're still ahead. We're on the air, I think. Hopefully, we've got Mitch here with us from planet5d.com. Mitch, it's been a week since we did a show, a week and a half. 2 weeks, maybe.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, yes, yeah. 2 weeks. What have you, sir, been up to?
Well, DJ, I've been up to the 5D Mark IV. That's what I've been up to.
Do you have it in your hands?
I do.
Nice.
Right here. Look at that.
Let's see this thing. Oh, mine's, I did not cancel my pre-order. Mine will actually be showing up today.
See, it actually says 5D Mark IV.
Wow.
Up there. Yeah.
Are you blown away by the quality and other phenomenal things about this wonderful camera?
I am very excited about it, yes. And guess what? It's very much like Seattle here. It's been raining ever since I picked up the camera. There were about 2 hours yesterday where it wasn't raining, and I'm like, God, I want to get outside and shoot! So it's been rather frustrating. So I've been learning menus. Things are a little different. Got a little frustrated because I couldn't figure out how. I mean, it's so bad that I actually reset everything last night because I've been through and changed so many settings just playing with stuff. I was like, I don't know where I am anymore. I don't know what settings are set. So I just went reset and start over, which I don't think I've ever done on a Canon camera before.
Wow, you must have really dug into the menu and what did you do to get it so jacked up? I mean,
well, see, I was trying to set just about everything to see what it does, and what frustrated me, and it's probably going to be something I'm embarrassed about later. But I got into shooting video. And you know how the 5D Mark IV has the touch screen with the dual pixel autofocus?
Yeah.
And it wasn't doing the servo mode, and I couldn't figure out how to turn the servo mode back on so that you can do the autofocus with the touch. I was like, I can't figure out how to get back to it, so I'm just going to reset and start over. I'm like, there's got to be one setting somewhere where I just don't understand what I've turned off or on. But I'll tell you, there's some awesome stuff, and I don't know whether you want to save it till later. I put a couple of pictures in the show notes. But I do applaud Canon because, you know, the My menu
Yeah.
actually has multiple tabs on it now. Hooray!
What? That's nice.
Yeah, so you can have more than just 6 things or whatever they used to limit you to. And so you can have multiple tabs. Like you can have a tab that is just video features.
Nice. So you can basically set it up, customize it for whatever you're working on, and then have all the things that you need right there available for you.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
so reasonable, normal usability features that we've always wanted but never got.
Yeah, like iOS. Oh, wait. Sorry, I can't go there.
Whoa. All right, so on my end, guys, if you're wondering where I've been, and I mentioned this pre-show, but I've basically been out shooting for the last week. We were working on a project called Blood Model for Prairie Lights Productions, about a lady who kills people and paints with their bodies. Very fun shoot. 5
Nice.
Locations. We had a giant warehouse. Dollies, all 9 yards. But it's really screwed up my schedule. Kept me up till 6 a.m. a couple of days in a row. And we also want to thank. I want to thank a few people out there, and you know who you are. I'm not going to name you because I put you on the spot. But somebody donated their mansion to the shoot. Like a 6,000 square foot luxury home in the middle of the country, and allowed us to spray blood all over the walls. And
really?
yeah, we had a carpet company come in. They have nice wood floors, so the carpet company laid plastic down over the top of all their wood floors and then installed carpet. And apparently their drywall in that area has asbestos, so they're going to be removing it. So they were like, go ahead and trash the walls. We don't care. Just don't hurt the floors. So that carpet installation, as well as the plastic underneath of it, kept all the wood floors safe. And then we just gushed blood everywhere, all over everything. It was it was wonderfully fun. Also a little messy. I still have sticky stuff on my cameras, so I'll be cleaning that for a couple weeks. But
I want to jump back to the 5D Mark IV, by the way. Who did you order through?
B&H.
Okay, good. Because I've been watching some of the threads out there, and apparently there was some kind of a screw up at Amazon.
Really?
And they're not actually shipping 5D Mark IVs until next week. I mean, it's sketchy. I haven't seen all the details, but a couple of people have said that there's some kind of a mess up with Amazon, and they're not shipping until next week. Now,
is yours a B&H order as well? Because I mean, you beat me to the camera.
No, what I did was I ordered through my local camera store, and I walked in and I picked it up at 9 o'clock.
Nice.
They actually had them the day before, but Canon wouldn't let me go in and get them. So I walked in at 9:05 and picked it right up.
I have tracking on mine. It's supposed to show up this afternoon, and I'll start messing with it then. I was going to cancel my order, but you started talking about the camera last time we had a show, and I was like, man, I want to play with this at the very least before I just take a dump on it. So that this could be a great camera.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing, by the way, speaking of Amazon, and you have an Amazon affiliate link, you might want to do this. And I have not dug into it, but I have a post that I can share that I saw last night. Apparently, you can get $200 off of your 5D Mark IV through Amazon. What they do is they issue you a rebate so that you can get $200 of additional photography gear through Amazon. So it's not like you get to keep the cash or the price is really lower. So you get like a $200 credit, store credit. But that if you want to order through Amazon, that's apparently available in one of the menus somewhere.
Huh. Interesting. I would love $200 in extra kit. That would be great, Amazon. Thank you.
Yeah, it is nice.
All right. Anything else on the 5D Mark IV before we get on to the news?
Well, we are going to talk about the stuff that I posted at the end of the show notes, right?
Oh, yep. I just saw that. Mitch is on top of things today. I am not. On that note, guys.
We'll get to that later. All right.
I think it's probably time for the news.
Time for the news. Time for the news.
time for the news. First up on the list is actually a new field recorder from our favorite company, Zoom, who continues to crank out more and more kit. The Zoom F4, which is a smaller version of their 8-channel recorder, is out and about at $650. This thing is capable of recording 4 tracks with XLR inputs, but it also has the standard mic adapter that goes on to the back of the unit, so you can add an extra 2 XLR inputs as well as a 3.5 millimeter mix down output. This is going to be a nice little guy for those transitioning from a handheld field recorder to a full-fledged carry around your neck in a bag field recorder. Mitch, this thing is $650. What do you think? Is this what we need as audio guys filming?
Yes! Go rush out and buy it. Use DJ's affiliate link, and let's make DJ rich. Well, I mean, it's a good step. I mean, it's especially nice that it's a step in between the mini handheld things and the F8, which has got the 8 ports, right? If I remember right.
8 tracks of recording.
Most people don't need that, unless you're like the official audio guy that's hired to record the movie. So it's a good intermediate step. I think it's a smart move on their part. I didn't see anything that just stands out as great new features. So they're doing what needs to be done, probably filling a niche in the market.
So on my end, there's 2 things I want to note about this. One, if you take a look at the F8, you'll notice that it has a giant colored screen, lots of flashing lights, Wi-Fi, all kinds of crazy stuff built in. And if you've ever seen one of these in the wild, the battery life on it is significantly reduced due to all of the wonderful features that they've added. Now, you'll look at the Zoom F4, and you'll notice that they've scaled back the number of flashies. The screen is a monochrome screen, similar to what you see on some of their older units. We've got a few light indicators for levels, but not nearly as flashy and as much electrical use on the front of this guy. I'm hoping that that results in a better battery life. The other thing to note is that port on the back, which is sort of interesting. Zoom has been doing this with all of their field recorders, and if you look here, if I can actually get the image to actuate, see this little port right here? That is the exact same port that we get on all of Zoom's recorders now, and that will give you the option to not only use 2 XLR inputs with an optional adapter, but you could strap an actual mic to that if you wanted to and do some recording with it. Those are 2 interesting things that make this a little bit different from its brethren. Hopefully battery life will be in the 3 to 4 hour range, because there's nothing more frustrating than waiting for your audio guy to change out batteries on set while you're trying to film. Now, Mitch, you have anything else on this before we move on? I just wanted to throw those out there because it makes it kind of sexy.
It's not available until November 30th, so you got to wait a little bit.
Pre-order now. And, of course, use the affiliate links. Next thing on the list here is actually some lenses. This week has actually been a huge list of lenses. Everybody and their brother is introducing lenses, and Sigma is no exception. They have a new set of manual zooms and primes that actually look pretty sexy. Most of these are T1.5. You've got a 20, a 35 millimeter, a 24 millimeter, a 50 millimeter, an 85 millimeter, and then 3 zooms that are 2 of which are T2, and that's an 18 to 35 millimeter and a 50 to 100 millimeter, as well as a 24 to 35 millimeter T2.2. Holy cow, that's a lot of freaking lenses. The 2 zooms alone are very attractive. You could get probably 70% of your shooting done with those. Now, Mitch, what do you think about a set of cinema lenses in your kit to begin with? And secondly, what do you think about these lenses in general? They are bigger, bulkier, full-frame lenses. Do we need these?
Well, number one, no cinema guy would ever shoot with a zoom. I've heard that over and over and over. Wait,
That is incorrect.
There's a whole line of Canon cinema zoom lenses that start at $15,000 and go up to $6 million. What's the pricing on these? I didn't look that up.
I couldn't find any pricing listed yet on these lenses, so they're announced, but no word on how much they're actually going to cost.
Why would they do that?
I think they want to build up buzz, maybe get people excited about it.
And then deflate the hell out of you when you go, oh crap, it's $15,000.
I can't imagine these are going to hit at $15,000. So I don't know if you've been keeping an eye on what else has been released, but I believe Tokina released a 35, a 50, and an 85 as well as Cinema Primes, and those are going to be about $3,000 to $4,000 a piece, and those are fairly hefty PL mount pieces of kit. These are EF and FE mount lenses, so I would guess that would put them in a little bit less expensive class, maybe $2,000 to $3,000 a pop. I don't know. A lot of times when glass gets that expensive, is renting a better option?
I would think so, yeah. Especially in situations where you're a low budget. And I don't know that many people that have a full kit of cinema zooms or cinema's lenses. I know Barry Anderson does, my good friend Barry Anderson. He has a full set, I think, of the Zeiss, but he's also a Zeiss ambassador, so of course he has to. But you know, I mean, that's the ultimate dream of many filmmakers, to have their own cinema lenses, right? So let me ask you, let's play the devil's advocate. What if? You know, the whole DSLR revolution was started because everybody could use their photo lenses on their DSLRs. Why in God's green earth, playing real devil's advocate, would I spend $3,000 on a cinema lens versus a decent photo lens?
So and I will tell you, I ran into this problem on my last shoot. I brought a set of Canon Primes with me, as well as a couple of zooms, actually, because there are several zoom shots in the film that I was working on. Despite people claiming that zooms are never used at all, that is incorrect, completely incorrect. But the issue that we ran into, we had a long dolly shot where we needed to both zoom in, zoom out, and pull focus simultaneously.
Nice.
As the camera is moving from one position to the other, and it encircles our actors and actresses. It was a great shot, but the issue we ran into is because we didn't have cinema lenses with us, the throw for the focus ring is like 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 of an inch. So trying to get accurate focus is a matter of just barely moving your hand to change the focus point. And with these cinema lenses, many of them have either a 360-degree throw or, you know, at least a 180-degree throw. And that amount of movement in the focus ring it makes all the difference in the world when trying to get accurate focus. It gives you a lot more time to get to the next focus point and to come back again. And, you know, they have built-in gears so you can hook them up to a follow focus and do all those things. And because I didn't have that option, I had one guy running the camera, behind the camera. I had myself and another guy holding onto the lenses, 3 of us on the dolly, you know, and this is a doorway dolly, so a very big thing, and then a 4th person pushing us. So one guy is just focusing on zooming in and out for me. I'm focusing on pulling focus via a monitor that's facing up, and then the guy in front is checking the audio and starting and stopping the camera. And there's 4 of us crammed up there doing this when, you know, if I would have had a cinema lens, I could have easily pulled focus and probably controlled the zoom without having to have an extra hand on top of the camera. So there are good reasons to have it. It's just budgetarily speaking, I would rather spend $1,000 a lens as opposed to $3,000 a lens. So my Canon glass, it kind of wins, right?
Right. And were you able to pull off the shot?
We were. It took, and instead of taking 1 or 2 tries, it took 7 to 10 tries, roughly. Beautiful shot though. Came out wonderfully, well worth the effort. But those sorts of things are a hassle, without cinema glass.
And so thank you for explaining that. I mean, sometimes I play devil's advocate just so that we make sure we educate as well as just talk about the news, because there are people that are listening that don't know all of these things. I think it's obvious that those folks that need those things, if you're on a high budget shoot, spending extra $1,000, $2,000 on a lens, when you've got 6-7 people at high budgets, obviously that makes a big difference. So that's why cinema lenses are so important. So thank you for explaining that.
Yeah, well, even on this shoot, I think my assistants weren't getting paid very much, but above minimum wage, like $15 an hour. So you figure if these guys working for me take an extra, hour to shoot this, you've probably spent several $100s on a group of people standing around trying to get this shot versus getting it done at a very fast pace.
Uh-huh.
And if you're paying people actual day rates of like $65 or $70 an hour,
that adds up quickly.
You'll pay for that lens pretty fast.
Let me ask you another quickie question. What's a door dolly?
A doorway dolly, it's just a very large platform that... So, have you ever seen those push carts, Mitch, that have the big wheels? Imagine one of those, only now you set it onto roller skate wheels, and you have a clickable track, and the clickable track allows it to swivel on the track and move smoothly. And it's big enough that it fills up an entire doorway, and then it has flaps that you can add to it to make the platform even larger. By the time you're done, if you put all the accessories on there, I think we had about 4 foot by 5 foot worth of standing space on the dolly to move around. So, and
I just had you pictured a regular door that you were pushing. Yeah.
Now you got me thinking, like, can I find a picture of it really quick? Here we go. It looks more like this here. It's a sort of a cart type of shape, but then, there's a bunch of pictures. You can scoot around on it, move people around. If you have a smooth floor, you can basically use it without the skate attachment. But ours looks pretty much like this gentleman right here.
Nice.
Able to place a chair on there and run the camera and have people stand off to the side. You can just call it a regular dolly if you prefer, but doorway dolly I think is when you're going to get your rental package. What they're called.
Does it fit in a doorway? Can you go through a door?
If you take the wings off of it, you can just barely make it through a door. We were actually shooting in an empty warehouse that had been cleaned out for us. And so there were no issues with getting through smaller spaces. The track, what's really nice is you have like a sort of a push cart type of thing on this, so I could actually have somebody walk us forward and backward as we're trying to get our shot on the camera, which it's only, people always say, well, these are too expensive. My shoot can't afford this. To rent that for a weekend was only $200. So, if you guys can scrounge up $200, you can get some very beautiful dolly shots in your production that add tons of value, and it's not that expensive. And if you find somebody who is an owner-operator, you might even be able to rent it for less. If they're not using it, it's basically not making any money, and some money is better than no money. So hit those people up. Talk to them. Ask them if they can lend you their dolly for $100 or $200 for a long weekend. They suck to move, though. Yeah, you'll need a truck. I mean, there's a lot of freaking bits to that. Speaking of bits, Mitch, how excited are you about Canon's latest bit, the Canon Xc15? This camera, just announced, is the update to the Xc10. We complained about the Xc10, or I complained. Mitch defended a bit. We went back and forth. The Xc10 was a kind of a weird camera in that it sort of followed a DSLR form factor, but had a fixed lens. This one is getting a little bit better. They finally added XLR audio source to it, which makes it a lot more usable and sort of makes this like a weird child of a DSLR and an XF305. Their nightmare baby came out, and here's what you got: a 28 to 250 millimeter range zoom, a XLR audio input, and of course, this has the better codec. 350 megabit per second MXF 422 8-bit codec, which is a fancy H.264 encoding method. Still 1-inch CMOS sensor. The specs on this look basically the same as what we saw out of the XC10. What do you think about this camera, Mitch?
My first thought is that for those of you who are complaining about how lame this is, number one, Canon came out with the second version of that. So we complained, those of us on the internet, said that, this was a lame camera. If there wasn't a market for it, they wouldn't come out with the second version. They would just go, okay, that was a mistake. Let's wash our hands of it and put it away. So as much as people complain, and I could go on a 20-minute rant about people complaining this last week on the internet. There's obviously a market for this. Canon does not put out cameras or lenses that don't have a market. Now, it may only be 10,000 people that would be interested in buying this, but they think it's big enough of a market to put out a camera and it fits people's needs. It may not be your needs. If you're going to go shoot a bloodbath in somebody's mansion, this is obviously not the camera for you, right? So don't bash Canon for putting out a camera that isn't made for you. Quit it. Stop it.
Now, I'm going to go the other direction here, Mitch, and actually defend this camera. I don't think it's actually a bad idea. The reason I didn't like the XC10 before is because it wasn't really well thought out. They quickly delivered a DSLR style camera with a zoom in it, but what they were trying to do, or it felt like they were trying to do, was to come up with a replacement for some of Canon's older, news gathering cameras. Like I mentioned, the XF305, that one was a great little camera for people who needed a lot of zoom range, who wanted to do some professional stuff and didn't really need a lot of interchangeable lens business. This guy at $2,300 actually has a good zoom range, has XLR audio inputs, it has 4K recording with a good codec, and it's in a form factor that is similar to a DSLR, but with at least a mic cradle and audio inputs, making it useful. That's it, and it's $2,300 retail. That puts it in the range of a mid-level DSLR without a lens. That's actually very affordable. This offers a ton for that price. Now, is it going to be a low light beast? Absolutely not. It's got a 1-inch sensor. Is it going to, blow your mind with bokeh and out of focus backgrounds? No. Is it going to be great for that guy that's like standing outside and shooting himself talking about the next bake-off at the local cook center? Yes, this is great for that. Is this great for the guy that's filming his family? Maybe. This is right at the edge of a high-end handycam. That's a lot of features in a camera that's very affordable. I don't think it's bad at all, and I think it does definitely have a market, and it's actually formed and fully birthed, not like the XC10, which was still missing stuff. I do not want to work with a professional camera that has 3.5 millimeter inputs. That's annoying when I'm spending the money for what I would hope would be a camera that will do most of the things. I could see people using this all the time as a B camera or as a news gathering camera, and in the size. It's DSLR form factor again, so very small, very nice. I don't think it's that bad, honestly, especially the price. $2,300, that makes sense to me. This camera actually makes sense to me. People, go ahead and start writing angry comments now, because I know I probably will earn them, but that's my feeling on this camera is it's not that bad. Mitch, what do you think, Mitch?
And you're absolutely right. You're highlighting exactly what I was trying to say, and this is made for a specific market. It's not made for everybody, and that's okay. Now, the one thing that I think would make this even a little bit better, which is maybe coming in the next release, and I was kind of surprised to see that it's not here, is the dual pixel autofocus. And that's probably because this doesn't have a touch screen on it. Is my understanding. I don't think I've ever seen anybody say anything about a touch screen. But a touch screen and the dual pixel would make this really nice. You know, like an interview camera for people that are shooting NAB or other kinds of things like that. You know, you don't need massive cameras in order to shoot those kind of things. You don't need lots of low light. You don't need shallow depth of field to do those kind of reporting things. And so this would be a very good camera for many of those kind of needs.
I don't know if they could actually fit dual pixel AF on here, though. 1-inch sensor, I think this is a 1-for-1 pixel scan for 4K. So
you're probably right.
If that's the case, that, you know, that's a about an 8-ish megapixel sensor. That doesn't leave many extra spaces for a you know, an extra pixel to do dual pixel AF.
True, very true, and maybe it's not feasible. I don't know, but that would make it more appealing to me. Like, you know, let's say you're doing the booth interview at NAB, because that's where I have a, you know, experience, and you got a guy that wobbles back and forth. It would be nice if it just kind of kept focus for you. But with a 1-inch sensor, your depth of field isn't going to be that narrow anyway, so maybe I'm just blowing smoke. Maybe it's okay. You set it with a wide angle on the zoom, and you just shoot, right?
That's absolutely right. All right. Now that we've discussed the Xc15, let's discuss its expensive well, I don't want to say overpriced. It's very expensive big brother, the C700. Now, if you guys have been paying attention, the C700 announcement also followed a C500 price drop, a very significant price drop, in fact, down to, I believe, about $10,000 from what, a $30,000 camera previously? Does that sound about right? Yeah. So that's a heck of a fall off. This camera is a $28,000 body, designed similar to what we see from camera makers like Red, Arri, and Vericam, as well as the Sony X300R. These are all super expensive cameras, to me anyway. They're out of my budget. I know obviously there are cameras that go even higher than that, but once you get up to the $30,000 range, that is in the rent-only category in my budget, and this is no exception. You can get this in a PL mount or an EF mount if you like to use your Canon glass. There's a remote control to go with it, as long as you don't mind having an extra screen and some other stuff. Basically, Mitch, I'm looking at this camera, and I've looked at some of the competitors. This feels a lot like a Red sort of design, where it's modular. You got your box, and then you add some extra boxes to it to really turn it into a thing. What do you think about this camera, and do you think people are justified in complaining about it?
No, no. I you shouldn't have asked me that question first. I'm very sick of the ranting, and I'm ranting about ranting. Okay, I get it. A couple of people have said, Mitch, because I've posted a couple of rants lately, and I'm like, yes, I know I'm complaining about the complainers, but I also have asked people to just think about it. So I comment about, you know, the situation, and I give them an idea for improvement, and that is to just keep your mouth shut. There's a market for this. There's a high-end group of people that are very dedicated to Canon shooting. Maybe they have the EF lenses. They want this kind of camera. There's obviously a market for it. They're competing against Arri. They're competing against Red. Is it too little too late? Some people say yes. Some people say no. I think Canon spends a boatload of money on market research. And what happens, and I give you you've heard the old 80-20 analogy, right? That, you know, there's the money is made on 80% of the market, and there's the 20% that are the outliers that you just don't spend the money on those people, you know, in terms of marketing. And I think what's happening is that Canon's doing a lot of market research. They realize where the money is to be made. They spend the money on developing a camera for that, and they market to that. The same thing is true with the 5D Mark IV. People are complaining and complaining and complaining that it doesn't do this, that, and the other thing, and yet Canon's going to sell a boatload of them. They're going to sell a hell of a lot more than Sony's going to sell A7S Mark IIs or A7Rs or whatever, because Canon's got the bigger hunk of the market share, and they're targeting their cameras at the 80%. If you're in the 20%, you can piss and moan and bitch and complain all you want, but Canon's like, I'm not making this camera for you. And there are different segments. I mean, if you think about it, car manufacturers, by the way, let's say, you know, there's not Tesla, who's making these gorgeous electronic cars that do auto driving and all that other kind of stuff. And people love those features. They admire those features. And then Chevy comes out with a new car that's a third of the price. Do I hear the market complaining like crazy that Chevy could have the auto drive and the electronic stuff and everything in it like the big boy Tesla does? No, they go, oh, this car is made for those people. And they don't piss and moan and bitch all day on the internet. Maybe they do, and I'm just not reading the right threads. But what people are asking camera manufacturers to do is something that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense for the camera manufacturers. And I was like, well, okay. And I know I've gone off on a rant. I'm sorry. Everybody is saying, well, look, the A7S Mark II is a full frame sensor, and it's got great low light capabilities. Why couldn't Canon put all that 4K stuff? Why did they have to put this crop factor on the 5D Mark IV? And I say, okay, time out. I'm not an expert on sensor design, but the A7S Mark II is a 12 megapixel sensor. Okay, so they can do 4K full frame out of 12 megapixels fairly easily. The 5D Mark IV is a 30 megapixel sensor. Can you scan everything on that sensor and do all the processing and get it down to 4K without overheating the sensor, without running out of batteries and everything else? I don't think that you can just do that. Okay, so you got to put things in perspective. And people just don't do that. Well, and I'll say one other thing, by the way. Well, two other things. Number one, just so you know, B&H has the C500. The list price is now $10,000, but they've got a $3,000 savings, so you can get it for $7,000 right now if you want the C500.
Holy cow! Really?
Yeah.
Oh, the mighty have fallen.
I mean, that's pretty appealing. I mean, the camera still makes great pictures, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, there's movies out there in Hollywood land that are shot on this camera, so that's pretty appealing at $7,000. The other thing that you talked about back on the XC10, by the way, was the Kodak. And there's a lot of complaining about the motion JPEG on the 5D Mark IV.
Yes.
And I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day who is a Kodak guy, that he's doing a lot of work on the H.265 arena. And he's like, you know, people are bitching about motion JPEG, but you know what? There isn't a lot of compression in motion JPEG. There's a little bit in Canon's implementation of it. And so it's fairly easy for them to shove out these images in motion JPEG. And yes, you get a lot of data, and yes, it's a lot more space, but then you can do whatever you want to with it. And it's not all this H.264 compression, which would probably cause the sensor to overheat if you were trying to get all of that off of that sensor. He's like, I think Canon's made a smart move here. Now, I've taken the 5D Mark IV 4K footage into Final Cut 10, and I can do whatever I want to with it. It's not like the old days where I had to convert it to something else. I'm just able to work with it. I don't have to do a whole bunch of stuff. And yes, it's bigger files, and I could convert them to ProRes or do something, make them smaller if I wanted to, but it's not that bad a deal. I mean, it's not like it's a pain in the ass that I have to go convert it first. Final Cut just uses it. It works fine. My little measly iMac with only 16 gigabytes of RAM, I can process it. It displays. I can export it. I can do everything I want to. Okay, I'm done.
All right, so let's back up for a second and talk about the C700. The camera itself, one of the things to note when you're talking about Canon kind of going into the 80-20 or what have you, if you think about what's actually in the C700 and the C500 for that matter, they're 8.8 megapixel sensors that have been used throughout their C line for quite a while now. And Canon basically has a bunch of parts that they already designed that they're able to just toss into other things and put together. So if you think about the sales price of this camera and then the amount of actual components in there, they could have really just walked around the engineering floor, picked up a few pieces, put together a camera for $2,000 or $3,000, and if they sell a few of these, they're going to make a crap load of money on them. They don't have to sell a ton of them in order to profit. And it's the same thing with the C500 and the C100, 300, all the way through the line. These cameras are built on the platforms that they already have with cooling and some other things added to it. Infamously, the C100's audible fan that sucks in air from outside and goes across the sensor. These are just upgrades to make those products work in the way that film cameras should work. I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's going to be for me. I think the C700 is priced in the market that people will spend the money on, or rental companies will buy a few of them, and Canon will profit from them regardless. Yep. And this will drive the price down to the older cameras, which are only a year or two old, so much so that they will actually start to compete with things like the FS5 from Sony and the FS7 before those cameras were kind of by themselves. And I haven't seen Canon say they're going to discontinue the C500.
Nope.
Which means that they've milked that camera for as much money as they could get at the higher price, and now they've moved it down to a lower price of $7,000, which puts it into the competing range of these other cameras that everybody was really excited about. So, Canon is pretty clever in that respect, and they're continuing to keep making these cameras and getting more money out of them, even if their margins start to shrink. Maybe next year we'll see a C700 Mark II, and that one will be devalued to $10,000 to compete with the even more cameras. Great. The Red Raven will be on the chopping block as the C700 Mark II comes down the line and the 700 Mark I competes. As far as the 5D Mark IV goes, you mentioned the sensor readout. Now, if you're familiar with the A7 line of cameras, you'll note that the A7S Mark II full frame readout for 4K footage is one of the better options out of the group. If you go to the A7R, which is R for resolution, generally people recommend that you crop for 4K, and that is actually what you were talking about, Mitch. The readout for the sensor, it's not on the sensor side, it's on the processor side, rendering all that stuff, but that's a lot of work for it to try to downscale, and on top of that, because of the pixel binning and the other things that are happening, you don't get as good of a 4K image. Now with the 5D Mark IV, could they have done that anyway? Yes, likely they could have. Did they want to? No, obviously not. They have cameras that are above that price range that they don't want to compete with. Am I excited about the crop factor going back to APS-C? Not extremely. Did I not cancel my order? I did not. Am I going to deal with a motion JPEG? I probably am. Is that something to complain about? Well, honestly, to me, storage is an issue.
Sure.
In the long term, I will transcode into some other format, whether it be ProRes or H.264 or whatever else. I don't know how painful that is for most people, but if you are shooting longer format stuff, prepare yourself with lots of memory cards. I don't like motion JPEG. I've complained about it before, but it's not that big of a deal if you can afford to buy media for it. I don't really want to continue to drag on with this, so I'll just say I ended up getting it. It's coming today. I will play around with it, and I will determine by the end of the week whether the 5D Mark IV is for me. The C700 is definitely not for this guy right here. And remember, people, when you're complaining about cameras, know which portion of the market you occupy, because if you do not have 5 or 6 people working for you and oodles of expensive glass and a very large production with lots of budget to go behind it, you're probably not going to need a $20,000 to $30,000 camera in your collection. If you're an individual shooter like myself, or you shoot some indie projects also like myself, a mid-range camera, $3,000 to $5,000, or a DSLR will most likely get you through the day. And if you need to go higher end than that, you rent. On the occasional projects I work on where they require a nicer camera, more expensive camera, I will rent a red package and shoot with that. And when I do that, I also pay for other people to come with me to help me run the camera, because that is not a camera you just run by yourself.
Right.
But who's got time? Who's got money for that? I don't have that many shoots that are like that. I'm guessing most of you don't either. And if you do, well, congratulations, because you probably make more money than I do. So good job. Otherwise, this is, just ignore it. Pretend like it doesn't even exist. I mean, I don't hear people up in arms complaining about the Arri Mini. That's a $30,000 camera.
Exactly.
Why? Where's the hate there? There isn't any, because
Amen.
Guess what? That's a camera that's not for you. What?
Exactly.
Really? Same with the FS55 and all the other expensive cameras. Just deal with it, folks. Canon is going to be Canon, and you cannot tell them what to do, and they don't care if you do, because they're not going to listen. The Japanese owners will do whatever the heck they want, and we will just get what they give us. It sucks, but that's how the world works. Moving on.
Let me make an interesting point there, by the way. The Japanese ownership. I saw somebody post the other day, and it's one person's comments, because I don't know the market, but somebody who lives in Japan said, by the way, the Oriental market doesn't care about mirrorless. And I'd never heard that before. He said, if you go around Japan, you will find very few people, very few stores that have a large market with mirrorless stuff. People in Japan still love DSLRs. And I only say that, and it's just one person's comment, but I only say that because you just mentioned, by the way, that Canon Japan is the one that's pulling the strings. And I wonder if there isn't something to that, in that Canon hasn't come out with a fancy mirrorless competitor to the A7S or something like that. It's just a offhand comment. I don't know whether it's true or not. I'm just throwing it out there.
No, actually, you were completely right, Mitch. I don't know if you remember, early this year, I was in Singapore for the Special Olympics and Taiwan. I saw almost all across the board Nikon, Canon shooters. Did not see very many Sony cameras. Didn't see a ton of Panasonic in the wild, but I saw a lot of Canon and Nikon. And I mean, people weren't even taking pictures with them. A lot of people were just wearing them as a decorative attire. Look at this Nikon camera I'm carrying around with me. I have cash flow. Deal with it. So I think you're right. That is a thing. And if you go in Singapore specifically, if you go around to the sales areas where they have all these booths and little shops and so on, you walk in there and ask for Sony lenses, and they'll go clear to the back and have like a little tiny shelf about this big, for mirrorless stuff, and the rest of it's all, Canon, Nikon, big, giant, triumphant lenses and so on. It's just how they are, and that's fine. As a photographer, I will say shooting on a mirrored camera has much more satisfaction to me than a mirrorless. You go pick up a Canon camera and you get that triumphant Every time you fire the trigger, that just makes me feel like I'm doing something. When I'm using my A7S and it actually has to use a speaker to audibly play the click for me to make me feel as though I'm taking a picture, that is not nearly as satisfying. So just food for thought there. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am.
No, here, listen.
Oh, that is sexy.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. That ramble went on quite long, so we've got a few other things to cover. Let's talk quickly about some Zeiss lenses. I mean, the Melvis.
Okay, sorry.
Melvis lenses. I don't know. I think I'm saying that right. They released 3 more lenses to go in their lineup: the 15mm f2.8, the 18mm f2.8, and the 135mm f2. These lenses are $2,699, $2,299, and $2,199 respectively. Very expensive, almost to the price of Cine Glass, and they are electronic aperture-controlled manual focus lenses. So, yeah, that's Zeiss for you. Yet another release of lenses that I will probably never purchase. EF and F mount available right now. I don't know if any of these will be coming to FE, which is the Sony mount for full frame. So keep an eye out for those if you really want them. They've also got a huge number of other lenses available. This, though, is something I'm excited about. Mitch, did you have any comments on the Zeiss lenses? I heard the snooze comment, so I was just going to roll past you.
I say snooze. Zeiss puts out great products. Do not get me wrong. I'm not, and yes, they have been a sponsor in the past, but I know people lust over Zeiss. The thing that I said snooze about was that I don't understand why they don't do some autofocus stuff, but that's because I'm a photographer / filmmaker. I like to do both, and I just like autofocus. Sorry.
Well, it's a little surprising that a 15 and an 18, I mean, those focal lengths are so close together.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I just don't understand the market of Zeiss photographers / filmmakers. It's a little weird.
Unless is there some kind of optical difference?
Both
10
of them
degrees
have
difference.
barrel distortion correction. I know that the 15mm f2.8, the optics design does take a few more pieces of glass. So there may be some issues between the 18 and the 15 where you might get a slightly better image out of the 18. And the extra glass represents the price difference between the two.
Well, in reading a thing, the 18 says it's 100 degrees angle of view. This lens is ideal companion for landscape and architectural photography. It's also, I find it interesting that the 18 is a 77mm diameter for filters, and the 15 is a 95mm. So that's quite a difference. Anyway, I'm sure they're awesome lenses. They're not in my market, so I won't be buying them like you. But I know Zeiss makes some great stuff. So let's move on.
All right, next thing on the list here, this is something we actually talked about 2 or 3 months ago. I brought this into the show notes again because I wanted to refresh you guys on it. I mentioned the last time we talked about this camera that it was only available in Japan, and this is the Sony X3000R, which is a 4K action cam. Yes, I know, sigh, action cam, groan, action cam, another action cam, great. But the key thing here is actually that this is one of the first action cams to feature internal optical stabilization. None of this digital stabilization business where it's actually just moving around on the sensor. This guy literally has a full set of controls, just like some of the more expensive Sony cameras, that moves the sensor around in order to image stabilize. Now, this action cam, and they do actually warn you in their press release that vibration from vehicles will cause a lot of problems with that system because it's not able to keep up. But for people running around, jumping, whatever, the footage that was released when the original was announced in the Japanese market, it looks phenomenal. It's really good at image stabilization. The 4K sensor in here is the same sensor you see across the board in action cams today. and Sony has new Zeiss glass in front of it. This also has a 3.5 millimeter input for audio, which gives you full-fledged audio for your action camera, and for a price of $450, it also includes a cute little wristwatch remote, as well as the ability to, of course, run this via your phone or what have you. The other sweet thing about this little guy is the fact that it has a 100 megabit codec at XAVC, so that is pretty much the same thing we see in the A7S Mark II. So image stabilization, 1, good codec, 2, excellent audio options for an action cam, 3, and a James Bond style watch to wear on your wrist to see what the heck is going on next to your forehead where you've strapped this camera in case your eyes do not work. Excellent camera for the price, it seems. In the past, Sony has been neck and neck with GoPro as far as image quality goes, and now 4K image stabilization in camera. This is actually, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think this is actually an exciting action camera, and sets the stage for GoPro to either fail or be triumphant in their next release. Mitch, now that I've rambled on for this, 4 minutes, tell me, do you think of anything when you see this? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you think it's dumb? Well, what do you think?
It's only 2.5 minutes, by the way. So is the live view remote the wristwatch?
Yes, it's
Yes.
You can use it as a remote.
So that's $450. No, $550 for the live view remote, which is kind of disappointing. I mean, that's more expensive than the camera.
No, okay, it's $300 for the camera by itself. There's 2 flavors
Oh,
of this.
it's a kit. I'm
There's
sorry, I
the
can't read.
AS3000 and the AX3000. The difference comes out in the frame rates at 1080p versus one of them does 120 frames per second at 1080 and the other one does 120 frames per second at 720. But otherwise, they're fairly identical. The base model camera is 400 and 300 respectively for the 2 different types, and then extra $50, so $450 or $500, depending on which one you get to get the wrist remote with that. Now,
No, time out. It's the X3000 is $400 US, and with the live remote, it's $550. So it's $150 for the remote.
Yes, thank you.
You said $50.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I want to make sure that's right. Anyway,
So now I'm okay. So $550 and $450 respectively. That's what we're agreeing on?
right.
Okay, so $550 for the slightly fancier camera, $450 for the less expensive version. You can get it without the wristwatch. Are you going to wear this wristwatch around and like keep this on your dog or something? What are you going to do with it?
No, but it's. I mean, I sent you an article that I think you read. You said you were going to read it about the growing market in action cams.
Here it is right here. It's in the show notes, linked underneath.
Look at that.
Which is kind of strange. Do
they're
you want
talking-
to quote this article for us, Mitch?
Quote it. I'm sorry, I don't even have it open yet.
Oh, sweet. Pre-roll ads. Thanks for that financial. Oh, man.
I just think it's fascinating that and it goes back to what I said before. There are definite markets for all of these products. Otherwise, they wouldn't be produced. I mean, somebody asked me the other day about spam. So, well, why would anybody click on a spam ad for Viagra or something like that? And I said, look, if it wasn't working, people wouldn't be sending out all that spam. They're not going to go through all the trouble to do it just because it's fun. There's obviously a market. People are actually clicking on those silly spam art ads that you get in your emails. So, same thing true here. This article talks about the fact that the market is growing, and they expect it to, triple in the next 3 or 4 years?
So,
Something crazy.
according to analysts, they believe that between now and 2021, we will go from a penetration of 7.4 million to about 24 million action cams during that time, which is basically 4x-ish, 3x-ish. You know, that's a substantial amount of action cams flooding the market.
Yeah.
At this point, I guess we've talked about this before: cell phones versus action cams. I still see people who have very nice cell phones that lust after a GoPro. They don't even really know what they need it for when you ask them, like, well, what are you going to do with this? But they want one. And
Right.
maybe this lifestyle drive for, if you own an action cam, you will then be jumping off of cliffs and flying out of airplanes and skating down incredible cliffs and doing all these other extreme things, is enough to continue the market forward. Or the fact that people don't want to risk their cell phone. Maybe
Right.
that's it, and I'm just missing it. But
Right.
what are people doing with these? I see a lot of people that just record stuff all the time and then don't do anything with their footage at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Dash cams is certainly something that, and now you can get a bunch of different cell phone apps. You just mount your cell phone on your dashboard. But anyway,
All right, so action cam, it's there. It's sexy. It'll probably be as good or better than a GoPro. And image stabilization, all sexy things. Now,
Yeah.
man, we're going a little bit long, but I still want to talk about the
Really?
EOS 5D Mark IV. Mitch,
What?
you've got this in your hand. I see in the show notes here you've placed some pictures of the 5D Mark II, 5D Mark III, and my 5D Mark IV of this carpet. Earthens, fashion, floors, nice. Tell me about these.
Well, what I did when I picked up my 5D Mark IV from Schiller's camera here in St. Louis, cha-ching, is that they have lent me two 24 to 105s. So I have in my possession, still in my bag, a 5D Mark II, a 5D Mark III, and now I have a 5D Mark IV. So I have three 24 to 105 lenses. So what I am doing is I've seen video after video, and you can see gobs of people out there right now demonstrating how beautiful 5D Mark IV footage is, or whatever camera. And it always frustrates me because I still feel like a newbie, or a noob, whichever way you want to say it, and I want to see somebody show me, okay, this is what the old camera looked like, and this is what the new camera looks like, with the same frickin' scene, with the same frickin' lenses. And so the only thing that's really different is the body itself. And so that's what I'm doing, is I'm taking those three cameras and I'm shooting video and stills side by side for the next couple of days. And so one of the things that I had done, I did the same thing with the 6D when it came out. But that was comparing the 6D against the 5D Mark II and the 5D Mark III. So they were different market kind of things. But anyway, so what I've just done in the show notes is, and DJ's kind of showing it in an over video, it's not going to show up very well at all. And of course, I plan to put out a video demonstrating this, but I wanted to see what the Moire differences were between the 5D Mark II and the 5D Mark III and the 5D Mark IV, because everybody always wants to know, how different is the 5D Mark IV handling Moire better or worse? And what do you think the answer is? I know you've looked at these images.
I'm just staring at them right now, and it sort of seems like there's more Moire in the 5D Mark IV than the 2.
And why would that be?
Well, you got more pixel sites, so
it's right.
Obviously, it's going to get worse. What's the 5D Mark II? I don't remember what the pixel count is on that guy.
The 5D Mark II was 12, if I'm not mistaken.
So yeah, I mean, there's your problem right there. 18, I think, maybe. I don't know. It's less than 30.
7D, yeah. It was less than the 5D Mark III, and it was. But yeah, I'm pretty surprised the amount of Moire in the 5D Mark IV. And this building that's right across from Schiller's is the one that I'm showing in these screen grabs. It's not as good as really the 5D Mark II or the 5D Mark III. So I'm just trying to set an expectation. I didn't expect it to be any better. I kind of was hoping it would be on par with the 5D Mark III, but I think they specifically tuned the 5D Mark III to reduce Moire, because that was the major complaint of people about the 5D Mark II. Not the major complaint, one of the complaints. But if you look at them, and obviously when you see them full screen, it's a little bit different than what you see over this video, I'm sure, and even in the show notes. What you can see though between the 5D Mark III and the 5D Mark IV, if you look at like the lettering on the California custom decks or the sign, the carpet sign, the sharpness is much. The 5D Mark IV is much sharper than the 5D Mark III was.
Yeah, the letter details are very crisp on the carpet sign on the 5D Mark IV, and I'm looking at the other one right now, and it's the A and the F start to sort of wash out a little bit into the sign.
Yeah. So, and I think we kind of expected that, but a lot of people were complaining. I know. About the fact that this has an AA filter in it. You know, you and I talked about that last time we talked before the camera came out. And the 5D Mark III was soft in many people's expectations for video. And I think the 5D Mark IV, based on what I've seen, and I've only been able to get out and shoot without rain for like an hour and a half yesterday. I still got some more shooting to do, but it looks like it's sharper, but you sacrifice by having Moire and things like bricks and stuff like that. So that's...
So what is the Moire, now that they're doing pixel for pixel 4K, is the Moire not a problem in video mode?
I haven't, and I apologize, I did not shoot video or 4K video at that location. And I was like, when I left, I was like, holy crap, I didn't shoot any 4K. It started raining when I was shooting that, and I was like, I didn't want, because they had lent me the lenses, I didn't want them to get sopping wet, and so I ended up leaving. But I'll go back and shoot that in 4K. We'll look at that. Obviously, the crop is going to make it. I mean, that isn't even the full frame. The images that I posted there, that's just a relatively same size screen grab off of Final Cut 10.
Now I have to ask you, Mitch, are you really, is the high megapixel count really something that you wanted? Is that something that you're even excited about? Because to me, 18 and above, it becomes superfluous. I don't really need more pixels than that. Is this something that's going to affect you and make you happier as a photographer? I
think so, yes. I have started, my daughter, I've talked about my daughter is in the color guard at her college now. And I am going in and shooting for them. And unfortunately, I can't get right up in the middle of the field while they're performing. And so I will be on the sidelines, and I also don't have a 400 millimeter or 600 millimeter Canon, those things that are like $10,000 lenses. I don't have any of those. So for me right now in this particular job, if I can shoot kids and if I can photograph kids out on the field and be able to do some cropping and still have high megapixel results, that's kind of appealing to me, yes.
This is what you need right here, Mitch. You need to go micro four thirds, and you need to get the 40 to 150 with the 1.4x, and this will give you equivalent to about almost 500 millimeter reach.
Nice.
At 16 megapixels, so you could literally fill the frame with your daughter's head. And this is all, you're not going to do this, but
no, I'm not.
This lens is only like $800 to $1,000. Totally worth it for that sort of thing. And one of the things that makes micro four thirds great as a camera option.
Well, I've actually thought about going and getting like the 1.4 extender from Canon to shoot some of this stuff, because I just can't get close enough. My problem is, and this is my problem, is that I like the portrait aspect of it. I like to get individual kids while they're performing with their instruments. You know, so they're band kids, and there's the color guards. I mean, I can shoot a wide angle just like anybody else can of the entire group, but that's not what appeals to me. I want to see the kids and their facial expressions and how they're performing. So I need to get up closer. I do have a field pass, so I can get up to the sidelines, but obviously I can't walk out in the middle of the field and shoot, because the fans would be like, "Who the hell is that guy out there? Why is he out there?" So in that aspect, I'm hoping that the extra megapixels give me some cropping improvement, and that's the only reason I'm excited about the 30 megapixels.
Yeah, I don't know. I find myself only needing 16 or so most of the time for stills. I don't do much in the way of cropping in.
Right.
When they tell me, people that buy the A7R will go on and on about the amount of resolution in the 5DS. The heck are you doing that you need that? And there are specific excuses. And same with medium format. There are definitely some excuses as to why you would need that. I'm not denigrating those folks. I just want to say, for most people, probably 80% of us, more pixels does not equal more better. And it does equal more Moire, apparently. That's a lot of mores in there.
Yeah. And that there are people who are going to complain about all those different things. And again, if it's not if the camera's not for you, then don't buy it, and do us all a favor and just say, I'm not going to talk about it and bash Canon for being so archaic and slow. They're selling a boatload of cameras. They know what they're doing, and they don't really need you bitching about it. I will say, by the way, Tony Northrup, who I know and I like, has done a video about dual pixel RAW, and I see the sun starting to come out. I'm getting excited. He just absolutely slams dual pixel RAW up and down, and I think his video was a little early. I think it needs to be analyzed a little bit more, because I have seen. So we're talking about dual pixel RAW in the ability to change focus. And I obviously can't do it on this Hangout with the horrible resolution that I'm uploading with. But I have done just briefly a couple of photos when I turned dual pixel RAW on. I was sitting in the car while it was raining yesterday, looking at some flowers that were several centimeters apart. And I shot dual pixel on them, and inside DPP, I can see a difference when you say shift to the front and shift to the back in terms of the focus. It's visible. There's a guy, and I did a post on it the other day on Planet 5D that has, the charts, the ruler thing that you can photograph to set micro focus.
Yes.
Where, and it's at an angle and all that kind of stuff. He shot with lenses from 100 millimeters to 600 millimeters. And in the 100 to 400 range, there was quite a significant difference between the front focus and the back focus. And so maybe, and Canon actually has posted some recommendations for dual pixel RAW, and it's probably not effective under 85 millimeters. So if you're shooting with a 50 millimeter or, wide angle of some kind, just forget it. Don't even bother trying. But in some of the longer lenses, it appears to make a difference. And what I'm really kind of saying is, don't just wash it out completely yet. It's a pain in the butt kiss, because you got to use dual pixel. You got to use DPP in order to process it. It's slow. My gosh, it takes like 10, 15 seconds to load an image and then to turn the adjustments on. So it's new technology, maybe not for everybody, and I'm certainly not going to shoot 100 frames with it and then try to go in and analyze each one of them. So maybe it's not good in every scenario, but don't just wipe it off the board yet. Anyway.
Well, at 400 millimeters, I mean, even though the pixel sites are very close to each other, that's still a significant focus change for the lens. I mean, that
Yeah,
does make sense. At 24, uh, you know, you may
yeah,
be wasting your time, and I think
right,
that's kind of what you're saying, right? Is that basically any of the wider angles until you start to get into telephoto, it's not really that big of a benefit.
right, absolutely. And so, it's new technology. We'll have to see if it's useful. I don't know whether something like Lightroom is going to be able to analyze that. And that's another room for improvement that I whined on Planet 5D about yesterday, is the fact that camera comes out and we still don't have Adobe RAW. We don't have, iOS, or not iOS, Mac OS can't read these new RAW images. This has been going on for how many years now? 20 years since we started this. I don't understand why the manufacturers, and it's not just Canon, why they can't several weeks to a month. I mean, they've locked down this format some time ago in order to be able to produce a CD that I can get in a box when my camera ships to my door. That raw file structure has been determined at least a month ago, if not longer. Why they can't send those to Adobe and Apple and all of the vendors and say, hey, here's an early copy. Why do they have to wait and process and figure it out starting day one? I don't understand this.
'Cause
It's
they're
frustrating.
jerks. They're a bunch of jerks.
I mean, it would make so much sense for them to just ship this off to Adobe's, because Adobe's going to do it anyway, right? It's not like they're not going to figure out what the file structure is and be able to read those files. They want Adobe to do that. So why don't they do it early enough that those guys can just issue updates on the day the camera comes out? Sorry.
Maybe
Another rant.
it's a leak control issue. Maybe they don't want
Who's
certain information sneaking out before they control it with the press.
Oh.
But you're absolutely right. That is something that's very frustrating. You get a new camera, and then you go to Lightroom or whatever photo processing app you normally use, and you're like, wait a minute, how do I do this? And then it's a good month to 2 month lag before everything catches up. And it's especially frustrating if something like the Panasonic GH4, the included software is bunk. It's crap. It's the worst, and I do not ever want to see it again on my computer. And waiting that time, you're basically collecting photos without being able to use them, or shooting RAW plus JPEG and doing it that manner, which is also very frustrating.
Exactly.
It is stupid, Mitch, and you're absolutely right. I agree 100%. Down with Canon, up with Lightroom.
I didn't say that.
No.
I didn't say that at all. It just doesn't make any sense for a consumer organization. But I was even wanting, a couple of people uploaded Canon RAW images from their preview cameras. Like DP Review had early CR2s. Can anybody read them? Well, why doesn't Canon just put out the download of DPP early? Oh no, they've got to wait until the day it's released.
So what, the update for DPP wasn't out and available at the time to cover this camera? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, if they shipped you a camera, you could use DPP because it was in the box. But if you went to Canon's support website where you download the online versions, it's not available. It wasn't available even yesterday. Even though the camera is released. I had to dig out my old portable CD drive to be able to install the dadgum software. It doesn't make any sense.
Oh, I mean, this is from a company that it took, almost 10 years before they finally allowed you to even get a copy of DPP legitimately from their website, which is a device that's only capable of working with Canon products that you own or have to own in order to use. That's ridiculous. I used to share ISOs of the freaking software for people because they couldn't get a hold of it in real life. It's ridiculous.
I agree with you there, because I saw a couple of people posting that, well, I was able to use my serial number from an older camera in order to download it. I'm like, What? Wait a minute. Why isn't it just available for anybody to use? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Nope, you're right.
It's I'm not just complaining. I'm offering Canon and Nikon and Sony the opportunity to improve the customer experience. That's all it is improved experience for the consumer. I mean, it's obvious. Anyway.
All right, last thing on the list before we get out of here, and this is just a giveaway, guys. Mitch,
what? Just a giveaway.
Just a giveaway. We're, thanks to our sponsor, Planet5D.com, who offers up giveaways. Mitch, tell us about what's on the docket this week.
This is the third giveaway we've done with Syrup, the motion control guys from Australia. Really nice bunch of people. If you're interested in getting one of three products that they're offering, the first prize is the Genie Pan Track Kit, which has a whole bunch of different products. Then the second prize is the Magic Carpet Epic Kit. And the third prize is the Magic Carpet Short Track. So if you go to planet5d.com/giveaway NOOB, NOOB, then you can enter via DJ's link, planet5d.com/giveaway NOOB, to find that giveaway. It's good until the 17th when we shut it all down.
Awesome. And prepare, guys, yourself for some more hiccups in the show as Hangouts transitions from the regular Google Plus format to YouTube, which we will be probably messing up at least 3 or 4 more times before we get it right.
Yeah, so DJ goes there this morning and he says, "Oh, and as of next week, we're turning off Google Hangouts on Google Plus." What? Thanks for the long notice.
Man, what a mess. This morning we were trying to bring Mitch in via Skype, so you may have seen false starts on the broadcast pop up and disappear. That was an attempt to live stream straight from XSplit, which we may have to do in the future, but those technical hurdles are down the road. For now, we'll try to do it this way. But thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Mitch, where can people find you?
I'm at a website called planet5d.com. And you can also go to planetmitch.com if you want to see some of my photos from the Color Guard band. They're out there, by the way. All shot with the 5D Mark III, and coming this weekend is brand new shots with the 5D Mark IV.
All the megapixels in the world pumped into a single sensor. No. 30. That's a lot. On my end, guys, you can find me on Twitter at DSLRFilmNoob. You can find me online at DSLRFilmNoob.com and onelonedork YouTube channel, as well as many other places where fine podcasts are distributed. You can check this show out on SoundCloud, iTunes, anything. I just said that, so I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on another episode of DSLR Film Noob Podcast. And that's out for the audio listeners.
Bye-bye.
Audio people. Hour and a half, and what a long show.
Hour 22, 46, 47, 48, 49.
And counting, because Mitch does a great job with the timer. Anything else before we get out of here, Mitch?
Have a great weekend. I'm going to go shoot my 5D Mark IV, and you will be shooting yours later today. Congratulations.
I patiently await its arrival. Still have not determined whether it will be sent back. But, you pay for the, like, I was thinking about it. I almost canceled, and I'm like, well, I would still want to rent this to check it out. And the rental fees are going to be about $400 for a long weekend. And I was like, well, 1 day return shipping and shipping here is going to be about $100. If I love it, I'll just keep it. And if I hate it, thank you, B&H, for your liberal return policy.
Hey, I sold my 5D Mark III already.
Oh, nice. Did you get a good price for it?
I got $1,900 for it.
Nice. Good job, man. That's actually very significant considering they're going for about $1,400 on eBay. You really stuck it to that gentleman or lady.
I actually had several people interested. One guy offered me $1,800 for it. One guy offered me $1,401 because I told him $1,400 wasn't enough. Funny guy. I mean, the guy that was offering me 1800 actually went over to eBay and tried to buy one, a gray market one, for 1850. And he won the contest or purchased it, and then they canceled it on him, so he was pissed.
Now you got me looking. I wonder where the used price is. So new, a 5D Mark III is going to set you back about $2,000, and used, there's over 100 of them for sale used, and the going rate $1,600 to $1,700 currently. And if we check the historical sold listings completed, we can see that 1,700, 1,800, 1,400. Yeah, so I mean, there's a number of 1,400s there. A lot of trending. Looks like trending is about 1,700. So you could definitely score one for cheap if you look around.
I was hoping to get at least 1,700 for it. I think the trigger was that I had the Velo grip that I bought from B&H for $80. So my little teaser there was that it had a grip. So
nice. Well, good job, man. I'm glad you got some money out of that. I was very happy to sell mine for $2,000. So
did you? I'm pretty close. Dang, good for me.
Yeah, I chucked mine out the door. About 3 weeks ago? A month ago.
Yeah.
Just before the announcement, because I wanted to make sure and get the maximum dollar value out of it before new cameras were announced and thrashed to the current value. All right. Have a great weekend, Mitch. I'm going to end the live broadcast now, and we'll see you next time, guys.
Bye. Thanks for watching, everybody.